HS2 spending more than £100 million to build a bat shed. We're going to read into this piece from The Independent, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from The Independent with the headline that HS2, that's High Speed Rail 2, was spending more than £100 million to build a bat shed. Expensive saga is an example of the UK's genuine problem with completing major infrastructure projects, the project chair has said. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share across social media so others are notified of this video. So, those who don't know, High Speed Rail 2 obviously was an infrastructure project that was supposed to design to link London to the north and from the north as well all the way up to Scotland. I stated this on numerous occasions whenever I've covered the HS2 project. I wanted the project to continue, but Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister at the time, decided to cancel the project because of the excessive costs, and there was lots of excessive costs. Lots of taxpayer money was being just splashed up against the wall. And this headline here is another prime example of money being splashed. And you have to ask the question, how and why was this allowed to happen? Why was so much money on what in my view was a very important project, a very important infrastructure project? Because we need to ensure that infrastructure is built, because infrastructure creates jobs, creates an economy, gets people going, moving from place A to B. It's good for the economy in the long term. Now, yes, there were going to be expenses, and there was going to be things that may cost more than the usual be. But £100 million for a bat shed. How on earth did no one grasp this as, wait a minute, something's wrong here? The mind boggles, really. But it also, once again, highlights just how incompetent, incapable the Conservatives are when it comes to handling our money. Because that's essentially what they did. They've mishandled our money so badly here and allowed these private companies to literally run amok. Those they put in charge of this project to literally run amok. They had a budget for HS2. They kept exceeding that budget again and again and again. And there's going to be so much of that money, it's just going to be it's not going to get recouped. Yes, some of it will be recouped by this Labour government, but a lot of it won't. A lot of it's already gone. And it just shows you just how important regulation really is. Regulation is so important. And it seems to be that we seem to be reducing regulation, the impression that I get. But do you really need to spend £100 million on a bat shed? Now, the argument and consensus, of course, is that some people may say, well, it's to protect them from High Speed Rail 2. Okay, but do you need to spend £100 million for a shed for them? Something tells me we don't need to spend £100 million. But it just shows, again, highlights incompetence of governments and looking after their money. Now, we don't know if Labour are going to be as careful or not with money. Time will tell. It's still too early days. But the Conservatives have shown that you cannot trust them with your money. Another example of their carelessness. It really, really is. High Speed Rail 2 Ltd is spending more than £100 million building a shed for bats, despite there being no evidence that high-speed trains interfere with the protected species, the chair of the government-owned company said. So apparently there was no evidence that it interferes with the protected species. And they still spent £100 million, apparently. So Jon Thompson told a rail industry conference that a bat protection structure being built in Buckinghamshire to appease government advertisers Natural England, that all bats are legally protected in the UK. We call it a shed. This shed, you're not going to believe this cost more than £100 million to protect the bats in this woods, he said. What a load of BS. How can it cost £100 million? Now, I'm all for protecting animals. I'm all for protecting the wildlife. And I'm sure you guys listening are all for protecting it too. But again, how is this allowed to happen? The saga is an example of the UK's genuine problem with completing major infrastructure projects, the HS2 chief told the Rail Industry Association annual conference in London. The curved structure will run for about 1 kilometre, 0.6 mile alongside Shepherd House Wood, creating a barrier that will allow bats to cross above the high-speed railway without being affected by passenger trains. Other more expensive options include a bored tunnel and rerouting the railway away from the woods. Were considered during the passage of the High Speed 2 London to Midwest Act through Parliament. After receiving the go-ahead from Natural England for the design of the shelter, Sir John said HS2 Ltd was forced to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on lawyers and environment specialists because the local council did not approve the work. So it was the council that was also making things worse. Okay. In the end, I won the planning permission by going above the Buckinghamshire Council head, he explained. So a lot of money was wasted on basically trying to get the approval from the council as well. So this is the covered structure which would run around 1 kilometre alongside Shepherd House Wood. This is what it was appeared to be here. So John said HS2 Ltd had been required to obtain 8,276 consents from other public bodies in relation to planning, transport and the environment in order to build one of the railway between the capital and Birmingham. People say you've gone over the budget, but people think about the bats when setting the budget, he said. I'm being tried about this, but I'm trying to illustrate one example of the 8,772 of these concepts. So John, who has led the project since Mark Folson left his role as chief executive in September 2023, warned in January that the estimated cost for phase 1 had soared to as much as £66.6 billion. That was just phase 1. Remember, there were supposed to be other phases of the HS2 project. And we're just talking about phase 1 here, £66.6 billion. In 2013, it estimated that HS2 would cost £37.5 billion for the entire planned network, including now scrapped extensions from Birmingham to Manchester and Leeds. In October last year, the then Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced that extending HS2 from Old Common to Euston was reliant on private investment as part of an attempt to save £6.5 billion of taxpayer money. Major HS2 construction work at a site alongside the existing Euston station had been halted since March 2023 due to funding doubts. Last week, a former Downing Street transport advisor said the HS2 was doomed from the start after ministers revealed that they could not confirm whether the project was $10 billion or $20 billion over budget. Andrew Gilligan, head of transport at the think tank Policy Change, wrote in the Sunday Times that the intercity high-speed rail network is Britain's worst infrastructure scheme in modern history, calling for the scheme outside the West Midlands to be left in the grave. How has this been allowed to happen? Well, it's incompetence on so many levels. Incompetence from the government, incompetence from those who are running the project, incompetence on so many levels. Allowing so much of taxpayer money to be splashed up the wall on so many issues, so many things. They clearly were not planning, and not enough planning, not enough detail, not enough consultations with councils where this was going through, was being consulted on. Not enough of any of this was clearly not done. You've got to go through, clearly not enough of the channels were not gone through in any of this. Because it feels like to me that more and more and more as they started this project, more money was being wasted. But I always said about this project, for those who aren't relevant, I've always said that this project should never have started from London. It should have always started from Scotland and gone down from there. So it started from there and then go into the north of England and then go from there. And then London last. Because London always gets everything. And this is coming from a Londoner as well. Because I understand that the infrastructure in the north of England and going up into Scotland is not as good as it is around London. I know that. Another example, guys, of money being wasted. What do you guys think? What do you guys make of £100 million being spent on a bat shed? Let me know your thoughts and more on this story down in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. Greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further, financially support me in the work that I do here, you could do so for as little as 99p or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.